Hey there, this is John Barton from JB Cases. So I have just taken in a case on trade, and it is one of these knockoff cases. So this is, I believe, one of the newer models, and I'm curious to see what happens here because I want to see if they've, after 3 years, if they've fixed one of the major flaws on this case. So just to preface this is the type of flaw that I'm talking about, where the bottom is thin and stops way up here, but the actual foam rubber stops here. So I highlighted this like, I don't know, I guess 3 years ago now, and when I checked 6 months later after I highlighted it, they still hadn't fixed it. So this is one of them that was from a newer batch or something that was still not fixed, with where the fabric actually stops about right here, but the actual foam rubber stops about right here. So with that in mind, that means that there's empty space there where the cues can clack against each other. They basically create, if they do foam rubber at the top, they create a system where now the cues can hit at the bottom easier, even easier than before. It's like spoons, you know. So what we're going to try to do here, I don't have the right tools with me, but I'm going to try to take these nails out, and then we'll see how it goes with this. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and, this is a brand new case, or not brand new, but I don't know, it's not very old. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take the nails out and then we're going to see. This is the interior. And it's got their little pouch, their little pouchy thing here, which is, that's what indicates that it's new, by the way. One thing that's important to remember here with this is this is the kind of case where they say extra heavy duty zippers and all that stuff. So all of that description still applies. This is that's the brand, in case anyone cares, right? So I'm making them famous. But so before I open up the nails on there, let's just check the zippers and see how extra heavy duty they are. Okay. So there's a zipper. Let's see, can I pull it off? Let's see how much effort it takes to break this zipper. So that's a little bit better. Oh,
you ripping that thing apart?
Yep.
Of course you are. Why wouldn't you be?
So that's what happened right there, without very much effort at all, right there. So you guys feel free to test that anytime you see one. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But here we're going to take the bottom off now. We're going to see if they've actually addressed the real problem with these cases. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these nails out, which is going to be easy because they're crappy nails. Probably going to hit myself in the face here. So I'm going to put this down where I can be safe instead of
I'll hold it for you.
trying to do it while I'm... Oh, you want to hold it?
Yeah, I can hold it for you.
So normally I have a tack puller for this to make it a little easier. But these nails are going to be real easy because they're not barbed nails. And see, they're just normal panel nails, so that's why they're easy to take out. Thank goodness, because if it was like mine, I wouldn't want to try this without the right tools.
I recalled it.
Huh? What do you need? Oh,
Found it.
we're just doing a little video, that's all. Just taking shit apart.
We say hi. Oh,
Hi.
she's nervous apparently. So how new is this case?
I want to say that this case is less than 6 months old, Like, and it's from I want to say it's from a new batch of production, which is the important part here.
Yeah, it looks like a new. It's like a newest. It looks like a new-ish case.
Yeah.
If I could talk, it'd be a lot easier.
The thing is that this one is it's a newer model where they say they've made some improvements or whatever, but I want to see if they've actually made the improvement that matters, which is Q protection. So one thing that they did is they're now nailing the bottom on instead of gluing it on. So that's a little bit better. Because I think they found out that when they tried to put them on, when they tried to copy us, but they didn't exactly know how to copy us. And what they found out was that these just peeled off really easily. These parts right here. See what's happening right there before I even take it off? Look at this. See how easy that is to peel off?
Well, that's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah. So they didn't make that much of an improvement. We'll just say that. So you might be asking yourself while you're watching this video, you might be saying, hey, if he's got to spend, used tools to take this apart, what does that matter to me? Here's the thing, whenever you build anything, it starts to disintegrate. It starts to disintegrate, which means it's just because of simple entropy. The more you're using it, parts are starting to move. So anytime you've got cheap, crappy nails like this, they're going to want to start moving. And even though it looks like I'm having to use a tool, of course, to get this out, after a while these start working themselves out. So
there's nothing to hold them in place.
Exactly, because you can see that as the material starts getting used and the case gets a little bit worn out, then there's nothing keeping these nails from moving, especially as the bottom gets impacted. So I'm gonna say this. Ready to play? Yeah. Okay. Can I have like 5 minutes? Okay. So basically it's like this. From a player standpoint.
John, table 18.
Okay. From a player standpoint, I'm hoping that they fixed the problems in here. From a competitive standpoint, I hope they didn't, so I can rag on them some more.
Did you describe what the situation is, or what the problems were?
Yeah, I did. It's
okay.
I showed them the other cases that I have.
Gotcha.
Also, here's another one. This isn't the same brand, but this is another one where it's even worse. Look how far down that is, and then the rubber actually ends up right about here. So if you can see that, there's where it is inside. So I'll just map it. This is about that much space gap in there. That's like 3 inches, and then the rubber ends up right there. So it's about 2.5 inches of empty space at the bottom of the case. And when it's padded at the top, you're basically creating a system like a clothespin. Every time it wants to snap, 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 every time it hits a bump.
Stop shooting. I want everybody to hear this.
So I'm going to pause this
There was
real
a
quick.
cue stick that came up there.
Okay. All right, so continuing on here.
There was a tournament meeting, or a tournament thing that had to go out before he could continue the video.
Right.
A tournament announcement, I should say.
Yeah, it was about a cue that got stolen here at this tournament, and they recovered it. Thank you to the venue for allowing them to use the cameras and figure out what happened.
It's Can Salim's.
It was Ken Salim's. It was one of the professional players here. His cue was taken. Let me raise up just a little bit. And his cue was taken. And so, yeah, thanks to the people here and the diligence of the staff, they were able to get it back and figure out who had it. This is what happens when you're doing this with the wrong tools. All right, I'll try to do it with a smaller screwdriver. Excuse me.
Oops.
I'm taking this apart to see if they fix the issue at the bottom of the case that was for the last 3 years has been present. This is a newer model of the knockoff, so I'm just curious to see if they've repaired it.
Acme.
Yeah, I traded it in, or the guy traded it in for.
Well, we just ordered our second one from you guys.
Awesome, man. That's good to hear.
Got the old lady one.
Let me get ready to stab myself here. There we go. Got it. All right, moment of truth. Here we go. So let's see what we got. We got let's see, we got nails first of all coming up through here. See those nail points? So those nail points right there are from the bottom here because they don't have the right size nails to make sure that does. So what we would do if that was me, if I were doing it that way, is I would grind all those off so that they wouldn't. If I couldn't find the right size nails, I would just either I would grind them off or I'd glue something on there to make sure it could never impact anyone ever. Because eventually those points are going to tear apart. Oh shit! See, eventually those points are going to tear apart all this stuff in here.
Hey, finders keepers.
So let's take a look before you.
Finders keepers.
So let's look at all the stuff in here real quick. This is actually pretty instructive. This is something that's important because look, you'll notice in here we have little bottles of like Visine or something, and I've got change, stuff like that. Now, here's why this is important right here, right? Not because the stuff is in here, because stuff does get dropped in cases. But when the cavities are open at the bottom, when there's, as you guys can see here, do you all agree?
Yeah.
That how far up that is? Look how far up that goes. Now let's look at this. Looking at this right here, this is what was inside the case, just like this. You guys see this? There you go. So that was what was inside the case. So if I put this case back together right here, put the camera up here so they can understand the distance where that stops, right? And where the foam, where the fabric stops, is about 2 inches higher. Would you guys say? Would you guys agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, you're a construction guy. I mean, you. So now, if we look at the fact that there's change and other debris in here, so what happens is, let's say that happens in our case, right? What would happen is that would stay in that cavity. So it wouldn't affect anything else, but in this one it can go over. As soon as the guy turns the case over, now you've got change. Now you've got change riding up inside the case where your cues are. You know, and let's take a look at that. And I'll explain in a moment why that's even there, I think. But everybody knows that the edges of quarters are ridged, right? So you guys want that riding up against your cues?
Absolutely not.
And that's exactly what would happen in here, and probably has happened. So if he complains about, if the former owner maybe complains about dings in his cues and shafts or butts or whatever, that could be where it comes from. Now, how this got in here, I'll tell you that right now. I'm like 99% positive that this is how that change ended up in there. See this? That seems like a neat idea, right? To have a little zipper pocket there on the top. Seems like a great idea until you forget to close it and close your case, and anything that was in there that has any weight just goes down there. Especially, it may not happen right away, like right at the moment he closes it, but the moment that he puts it down or it jostles in the car, it's just whatever that is wanting to go into that cavity. So now you imagine this for a moment. Imagine that you had let me grab it. Give me one of those cues right there. So now let's take a look at this. Oh, give me a pull cue. So now you imagine that you have your cues in there, right? And all that change falls in there. And now this is what it's doing against your cues as it works its way down. Because that's what it wants to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to go wherever it has the least resistance and just keep going until it's wedged in. So yeah, that's so go ahead and put it back on me. So that's the end of the video, guys. I mean, this is what it's all about. Is they can copy us. They can copy the way our cases look. They can give you a similar appearance at the top and promise you protection, but then they take it away at the bottom, and even worse, they make it where when something does fall into the case, now whatever's in there can be even more harmful to the cues, right? Would you all agree with that by having seen what you've seen? Now, if you take our case, for example, here, I'll grab a similar one to that. So, if you take ours, for example, all of our cavities are fully enclosed, so nothing's getting into the other cavities, and you can take it out if there's a problem and fish out whatever's in there. But the protection that we promise you at the top, we don't take away at the bottom, you know, because you can pull it out and fully see the whole thing. So, anyway, thank you, Nate. Why do I keep calling you Nate? I don't know, for some reason, I think when I see your name, I think of that M. Night Shyamalan or whatever.
M. Night Shyamalan?
Shyamalan. I'm the worst. I'm like, but anyway, thank you. He was my cameraman. So, Cue It Up podcast. So remember that. Go and support Cue It Up. He does a twice weekly podcast. Don't ask me how. Thrice weekly, 3 times a week. So, so yeah, that's an actual word, by the way. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching, and I know this has been a long video, but I think it's worth it because this is important when it comes to cue protection. The very basic thing that the case is supposed to do, it's not doing. So that's my opinion on it. Anyway, John Barton, JB Cases, you guys take care. Bye-bye.